for your grace, I'd go my way. I'm forever grateful. You have been so faithful to me, Lord. Your amazing grace.
Hello again, I'm Pastor Jerry Davis, and welcome to Power Surge Wednesday. You know, from week to week and from month to month, as we flip through our news channels, we see so many disheartening things. But I want to encourage you today. I want to remind you that God, just remember, God is still on the throne. Come what may, come what might, God is still on the throne. He cannot be toppled. He cannot be tipped. He cannot be superseded. God is still on the throne. You know, as a pastor and as a parent, as I look across this world's condition and I look at our own nation, and I wonder sometimes, could we actually slide right from under God's good graces? You know, this nation has enjoyed peace and prosperity for quite some time, but is now being threatened, but not from without, but from within. Many people in our nation are no longer honoring or even acknowledging God's very own laws. And it's become troublesome. I mean, when you look at the television and you look at the conditions of the world, you see things happening and we tend to worry. You know, I believe the prophet Isaiah was trying to say this. Well, he was experiencing the same thing over in Isaiah, the 6th chapter. He was talking about during his time when King Uzziah had died. King Uzziah had taken the throne at the age of 16. He held the throne for about 52 years. He was known as probably one of the best kings they had since King Solomon. But it was upon his death that Isaiah began to worry because he began to see the nation slide. They too were leaving the practices and the rule of God. Their nation too had now become divided, and he was so concerned that he really didn't know what to do. Incidentally, I've been at a place in my life, and maybe you too, where you might have been up against a rock and a hard place, and you were just in a place where you didn't know what to do. I remember one time this happening to me, and I decided to go to church one night, and I'm telling you, that's a good place to go when you don't know what to do. We had a visiting minister that came into town out of Chicago, Illinois. I'll never forget it. His name was Bishop Albert Morrison. And I tell you, what he preached that night was what I needed to hear that night. He preached, what do you do when you don't know what to do? And the answer came, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And you know, that's some really good advice. When you're at a place in life you don't know what to do, it's always good to wait on God. And that's exactly what the prophet Isaiah did. Turn with me, if you will, to Isaiah, the 6th chapter. I'm starting the first verse. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lifted up, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. The seraphims were in attendance above him, and each had 6 wings, and with 2 they covered their face, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. You know, although Uzziah was no longer on his throne, Isaiah saw that God was. I think Isaiah penned those few words for us here today to encourage us to take our eyes off our circumstances and be very careful to walk upright before God in all of our situations. And just like Isaiah, we too will get a fresh new vision of God seated on his throne. And remember, never to be toppled, never to be tipped, nor could he ever be superseded. I'm Pastor Jerry Davis, and may God continually bless you.